The Global Championship starts today, the $2 million LAN event, and we had two major players disqualified yesterday. And apparently Yomo, one of them was disqualified because his friend Faxuty was inappropriate on an IRL stream. We also now have Clix and Veno being contested coming into the LAN event, and I also want to talk about potentially one of the funniest tournaments I've ever seen, a $250,000 LAN event that you probably didn't even hear about. There's a lot to talk about. Let's jump into it. Let's kick off with the first big team that got disqualified the day before Globals, because yes, there are multiple teams that got disqualified today. First up is Yomo. Now, Yomo is not going to Globals because he qualified. He's going as a fill. Cheeps was supposed to be playing alongside his duo Turtle, qualified on EU. Turtle was unable to attend, and Yomo got picked up. Despite this, Yomo and Cheeps have actually been playing extremely well. They probably were the best team I thought going into it that was a fill team, a team that didn't actually qualify together. Swizzy and Yapko looked really good as well, but I had a lot of hope for Yomo and Cheeps. They've been playing all the scrims together. They've been playing cash cups together across region. They were really, really locked in, and now Yomo has been disqualified. There's a lot of rumors going around as to why this is. People saying, oh, because Faxuty was doing an IRL stream and he was messing around, he was being inappropriate. He was trying to pay players not to contest Clix, and yes, Clix is contested. I'll talk about that in a second. And no, Fax wasn't seriously trying to bribe players, obviously, but there was a lot of drama that went around. And while Fax was partly the reason Yomo got disqualified, it's not the whole reason, and a lot of people are getting confused about exactly what happened. To make this make sense, I need to explain what Faxuty even has to do with Yomo. So any player who isn't of the age of 18, they're not legally an adult, they need to either have a legal guardian present with them at the LAN event, or they need to have their legal guardian fill out a form and sign it, giving permission for another legal of age person to be their chaperone. In this case for Yomo, it was Faxuty. You've probably heard of Faxuty, super popular streamer in the Fortnite scene. He went along, and because he was Yomo's chaperone, he had the ability to IRL stream at the event. So he did a stream, numbers were popping off, everyone was freaking out, making crazy content, but Fax being Fax, if you know his content, you know what I'm talking about, he pushed the line a bit. He was making jokes with players, he was talking about who's gonna contest, he was trying to instigate people. He even went up to the OCE team that's now contesting Clix and asked how much he had to pay them to not contest Clix. They obviously knew this was a joke. They were saying he had to pay him $10,000. There was a bunch of jokes going around, but as you know, Epic unfortunately can't take a lot of this as jokes. They have to take it quite seriously, and because of this, Epic then said that Faxuty is no longer able to attend the event. He has to go home. Now, because of this, he is now Yomo's legal chaperone. If he goes home, Yomo needs a new legal chaperone to be able to attend the event. When they've gone to do this, they've gone through the paperwork, and it turns out Yomo actually filled out his form saying that Faxuty was his legal guardian, not that he was his chaperone. And this is a very big difference. It might not seem like a lot, but that means Epic is now liable for anything that happens to Yomo. No one who is a legal adult in Yomo's life has given permission for Yomo to go to this event, and he's currently unaccompanied. Now, this sounds strange because we're used to Fortnite pros being millionaires and living out of home, and they're moving around the world and going all these crazy events, but at the end of the day, they are still kids, and especially in the eyes of the law, they are still kids. If something happened to Yomo at this event and then it came out, Epic would be super liable, and that becomes the first issue. Why did Epic not check the paperwork? Now, obviously, they have to trust that players are going to fill out these forms correctly, but if they are children and we're going to say that, they're not allowed to be here by themselves, then you have to understand they probably won't fill out paperwork properly. Now, Yomo did go live on stream to say that he just sucks at reading. He just doesn't read things and didn't even understand the difference between a legal guardian and a chaperone. It's why you do always have a legal guardian adult look over this stuff. I mean, if Yomo just sent me this form, I would have helped him out with it. But unfortunately, we're at the position where the form was filled out incorrectly. Now, I think a lot of people wanted Epic to allow his legal guardian, his mum, to come sign the form, which she said she would do. She said she would either sign it and send it, via the internet, if you can do an e-sign, or she would actually travel from Canada down to Dallas to sign the form or be his legal guardian for this event. Unfortunately, Epic said no. For whatever reason, Epic or Blast, the team that runs the actual event, I don't know which one of it is, said this is not an option, whether they wanted to make an example of Yomo or maybe for liability, legal reasons, they just can't do this. Yomo can't stay, can't be in their presence. They're not allowed, to take that on. I don't know. But either way, this led to Faxuty getting kicked out of the event and Yomo officially disqualified from Global Championship. It's just a super awful situation, especially considering the chapter Yomo's had. And remember, chapter 5 season 1, Yomo and Rise were in first place, set to win their first FNCS going into game 9, had a huge lead, and then they started getting their internet hit off. Someone started hacking into their internet, making them crash, and then they ended up not winning the tournament and not qualifying for LAN. Then they played the next season, didn't qualify, then they split up. Rise and Ages, again, just missed out on qualifying. They ended up getting the global spot It's a long story, I've already explained that. And then Yomzo played with Tayson and they didn't qualify. So Yomzo has had an absolutely brutal chapter, and this really does top it off. It sucks. Yomzo said on stream, look, it's my fault. I didn't fill out the form properly. I should have taken it more seriously. I should have read it. Faxuty also on his social media was saying, look, I messed around. I pushed the line of content. I feel terrible. He said, look, I feel really bad. He was trying to do anything to fix the situation so Yomzo could still play. Again, it wasn't because of Fax that Yomzo's now getting kicked out. If he filled out the form properly, he could have gotten another chaperone to be there and he could have stayed at the event. But obviously, because of the two combined, that's what caused the issue. So it's just a really, really crappy situation. But what is the result? What does this now mean? Who is Cheeps playing with? Well, Cheeps is now playing with Crisp. And if you've been following, Crisp is actually playing with Middle Eastern pro Wazzy, or at least he was, until he also got disqualified from Global Champs yesterday, the day before it starts. If you thought the Yomzo Faxuty situation was weird, this one is even weirder. So Wazzy is a Middle East pro. Again, if I'm saying that wrong, I apologize. It's WQZZY. I'm just guessing that's how you pronounce it. So he qualified on the Middle East region. He's a 15-year-old, so he was attending the event with his father. His father was actually staying in the same room as him. He was his legal guardian. Now, apparently, this is his words, and I know this is confusing, but this is the most we have to go off. Apparently, some of the cleaners at the hotel said that they were suspicious. We don't know what that means. We don't know why they were suspicious or in any way. Apparently, they then searched their room, found nothing suspicious, but still because they were suspicious, they were kicked out of the hotel. And then because they were kicked out of the hotel, Blast has now disqualified him from the event. That sounds crazy. You're probably thinking, Aussie, please make it make sense. I can't. I have no other information than this. I tried my best. Snovax, who was a Middle East pro who I'm good friends with, he was actually with them at the time. He was at the airport with them. He asked him exactly what happened, and that's exactly what happened. He said the same thing. He said, look, they thought we were suspicious. We tried very hard to figure out what was suspicious. What did we do wrong? What happened? Nothing. They didn't get any information. I thought maybe language barrier was something of the issue. Apparently, Wazzy's dad speaks fluent English, so I just have zero clue what's going on. Either Wazzy's lying for whatever reason, but I don't have any reason to imagine that he is lying, or some absolutely just ridiculous turn of events has now led cleaners at a hotel to lead someone to be disqualified. I thought maybe this could be a situation where, like with Bucky getting disqualified from the last LAN, a lot of people were saying because Bucky was maybe smoking in the hotel, which is illegal in, you know, Copenhagen, that would then mean that he broke the law, which means he has to be kicked out of the country, which means he's kicked out from the event. But if in Wazzy's situation, if they found nothing in the room that was suspicious, nothing's happened, I don't understand why they're getting sent home. Like, they were at the airport like 2 hours after this happened. They literally were getting kicked out of the country. I am as confused as you, but again, it now means that Wazzy's teammate Crisp was left without a teammate. He is now playing with Cheeps, which means there is an entire spot up for grabs, and that has now gone to Visuals and Braids. So we now have Visuals and Braids playing in the LAN just like Rise and Ages, despite neither of them qualifying. This means 2 of the 5 Middle East teams that qualified are now 4 NA players. Don't really know what's going on there. It's obviously a bit of a nightmare. You're probably watching this thinking, Aussie, this is a joke. Why is Fortnite LANs like this? Does any other esport have this problem? It's such a joke. Epic this, plus that. There's a lot of factors that go into it. The fact that the Fortnite pros are all so young, or a lot of them are so young, leads to all these issues of, you know, guardianship. And that's what's happened here with Yomzo. Also, because a lot of the players playing are free agents, they're not signed to orgs. If you were a Rocket League pro, or you're a Valorant pro, or a Counter-Strike pro, usually your org would handle all this. They'd get you your visa, they'd organize all the paperwork, they'd make sure that everything's all good. You were, you know, you were professional, you were there. It's a little bit different with Fortnite. Then obviously you have just the sheer amount of people. There is 100 professional players going there, as well as the fill players. So that's just a numbers game that there is more chance that things go wrong. So I'm not trying to excuse what's happening with Epic and Blast. Obviously, this sucks, and there was a lot of ways to fix this, and I really wish there was more clear communication. That whole, like, the cleaners found a suspicious situation just doesn't sound right. Nothing's adding up there, but we're not ever gonna know. Just like with Bucky, we never actually got an official statement as why these players get disqualified. We're just left to, you know, rumor and speculate. We just have no clue what's going on. Now, even weirder than this, we only have 2 fill players left now. So we have Curly and we have Mixon as the only 2 official fill players. If somehow we have 2 players disqualified by the time the LAN takes place, there is an official rule in place where someone from the crowd can be elected to play. Now, I pointed this out on Twitter, and we got some hilarious responses from people like Cypher PK saying it was gonna be their chance, but that is the official rule. If 2 more people get disqualified and the last 2 fills get pulled up, if there is another player who needs to play, they are gonna come from the crowd. Now, as far as how this has impacted the actual LAN itself, which is taking place again today, it's impacted it quite a lot. Firstly, Visuals and Braids are now contesting King and Phaser, one of the favorite teams from Brazil, 5-time FNCS champ King. So that's super unfortunate for King and Phaser. They've just now randomly got contested the night before the tournament starts by a team that didn't even actually qualify for the event. And before you start hating on Visuals and Braids, this has been their drop spot for seasons now. They've been going here the entire chapter. This is the drop spot they know the best, not just this season, last season, and the season before that. So they know this drop spot well. Of course, that's where they're going to go, but it just sucks for King and Phaser. Now, another position that players have been put into, Clix and Veno, now getting contested by OCE team Resigns and Damo. Now, this obviously caused a lot of drama because Clix and Veno are involved. But again, similar situation, Resigns and Damo dropped this drop spot last season and now this season as well. So this is their drop spot they're most comfortable with. Because Clix and Veno are involved, there's a bunch of drama, there's a bunch of, smack talk going on the timeline. And when Resigns and Damo were talking to Oliver OG about this at LAN on stream, they said a similar thing. Look, they feel bad. They know how passionate Clix and Veno are about this. They don't think they're an easy team, but they don't have any other choices. They can drop on a terrible split with like 10 chests, or they can drop a drop spot they know where at least if they beat Clix and Veno, they get enough loot to go on and play well. I am super upset. Clix and Veno are one of my favorites to do well. They're in my top 5. I think as a storyline, they're so exciting to follow. I know how much effort both these players have been putting into the game. Veno has traveled all the way to NA now to play with Clix, but it's just how Fortnite goes sometimes. If you're a Clix and Veno fan, you have to hope they can wipe them quickly. If you're an OCE fan, we got some brutal spawn fights to watch. You got Resigns and Damo versus Clix and Veno. You've still got Kazi and Aspect dropping on Peter Pollo, and you got Alex and Worthy dropping on Malabuka and Mustache. Now, a lot of these teams, again, were already going these POIs, so I don't want to make it out like the OC teams is griefing all the good teams. It's just, man, if you're an OCE fan, it's going to be a rough day. They're going to have to pull off some crazy performances against some of the best teams in the world. Now, we do also have some other drop spot changes as well. Again, with the new teams forming, it's not really changed too much. Cheeps and Chris going over at Doom Castle won't really do anything, but the Visuals Braid one is a big one. At this point, as far as what Epic can do to stop this happening in the future, I mean, we already talked about it. We need to have no more LAN events run out of the US. The visa issues are just too much of a problem. I know both these players, it wasn't kind of really related to visa issues. Both of them have had issues once they're at the event itself. But if you include these two players now being disqualified and you add that with the 8 other players who couldn't get visas, that is now 10 players. 10% of the people that qualified for this LAN have not been able to attend for whatever reason. Now, you got to remember also, most of those are solos, which then affects their duo. So it's actually like roughly about 20 teams that end up being affected by this. So it is a bit of a problem as far as like what this means for the LAN. I want to make sure people don't now take away from whoever wins this. If someone wins this and does extremely well, I don't want it to be like, oh yeah, they won, but like, this happened and Yomzo got disqualified. I still want to be able to celebrate the wins. It's been super messy. It sucks these teams and players haven't had a chance to be able to perform, but I still think this LAN is going to be one to remember. The quality of the lobby is still crazy strong, and I'm really hoping with the current meta we have, this is a LAN to remember and we can at least celebrate who wins. Obviously, you can sit there and be annoyed at how this has all been handled and feel bad for players like Yomzo, like Vanya. I fully agree with that, but I want to see if I can have any impact in the Fortnite scene to try to not then use that to take away the celebration and the success from other people who did earn it. I wanted to finish on a bit of a lighter, funnier note. Speaking of Fortnite LANs, there was actually what was originally advertised, I think, as a $250,000 Fortnite LAN event that took place in New Zealand. Apparently, the prize pool ended up being $140,000, and a large chunk of that ended up being peripherals, but the top 3 were still making money. First place made $35,000. You're probably wondering, Aussie, you didn't talk about this. Why haven't you told us about this? Why haven't I heard about this? It was a little bit weird. It was the Spark tournament. It was sponsored by, again, Spark, which is a company in New Zealand, which is a telecommunication company, like Verizon if you're from the United States, like that. But basically, it was a no-build tournament. I think the qualifier was a single game of no-build pubs to qualify. You had to be a New Zealand resident to be able to even compete in it. No one who was competing in the top 50, yes, they only had 50 players, not 100, even had any earnings above 5,000 in the finals, competing for a share of 140,000. On top of that, they decided to run the tournament in the regular game mode, regular pub game mode, not the tournament playlist. And if you've been paying attention at all to the most recent Fortnite update, you can tell why that might have been an issue, because exactly what you imagined could have happened, happened. The last game of the tournament, we had the Doom Island go active, which means a player got access to the Doom Mythic. And I'll show you what the end game looked like.
He's made a deep cut once again. but he's got limited eliminations. Hayes now drawing attention. King's in trouble. Falcon's up on him. The bunker just keeping him alive for a little bit longer. There you go. Elimination number 7 for FG. Falcon standing for glory. Drop down onto Hayes. He's looking to rip the lobby apart. Wavy's gone. Hayes is gone. There are 4 players left, and it's just fodder for Falcon right now, dropping onto Crusades. Everyone is just nothing in front of the man himself, battling it out for the 3rd victory royale. Chewy against the world, and Falcon seemingly the world. The slam onto him. Chewy, he's trying to play the high ground shots out.
You have to like be very
Chewy is actually playing this very well. He's actually getting impressive damage out right now. No shields though. The slam, no. Chewy into the storm.
Wow.
And Falcon takes victory royale number 3. What a game. Falcon with the double digits elimination game to round it out.
He went crazy. He went crazy.
I want to make this clear again. Absolutely no hate to Falcon who won this. He's actually a subscriber to me on Twitch, and I was talking to him after the event. Again, don't hate the player, hate the game. It's not his fault for going for the island and then abusing this item that was in the game. He had to fight for it. There was a lot of teams going for this as well. Parts of this just felt like OG Fortnite. I felt like I was watching the Infinity Blade all over again. It was absolute insanity. But again, Falcon has now won $35,000. Congrats, shout out to him. I did want to finish this video on a slightly lighter note. I thought this was hilarious. The tournament was just insane. If you guys want to watch the Global Champs, I'll be live all today and tomorrow, twitch.tv/Aussie Antics, giving away V-Bucks, following all the action, all the crazy. It's going to be a super fun weekend. Make sure you don't miss it. I'll see you there.